Chapter 11. The whole world spoke the same language, using the same words. While men were migrating in the east, they came upon a valley in the land of Shinar, and settled there. They said to one another, "Come, let us mold bricks and harden them with fire." They used bricks for stone, and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower with its top in the sky, and so make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we shall be scattered all over the earth." The Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the men had built. Then the Lord said,
"If now, while they are one people, all speaking the same language, they have started to do this, nothing will later stop them from doing whatever they presume to do. Let us then go down and there confuse their language, so that one will not understand what another says."
Thus the Lord scattered them from there all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. This is why it is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the speech of all the world. It was from that place that he scattered them all over the earth. This is the record of the descendants of Shem. When Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad, 2 years after the flood. Shem lived 500 years after the birth of Arphaxad, and he had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad was 35 years old, he became the father of Shelah. Arphaxad lived 403 years after the birth of Shelah, and he had other sons and daughters. When Shelah was 30 years old, he became the father of Eber. Shelah lived 403 years after the birth of Eber, and he had other sons and daughters. When Eber was 34 years old, he became the father of Peleg. Eber lived 430 years after the birth of Peleg, and he had other sons and daughters. When Peleg was 30 years old, he became the father of Reu. Peleg lived 209 years after the birth of Reu, and he had other sons and daughters. When Reu was 32 years old, he became the father of Serug. Reu lived 207 years after the birth of Serug, and he had other sons and daughters. When Serug was 30 years old, he became the father of Nahor. Serug lived 200 years after the birth of Nahor, and he had other sons and daughters. When Nahor was 29 years old, he became the father of Terah. Nahor lived 119 years after the birth of Terah, and he had other sons and daughters. When Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. This is the record of the descendants of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran became the father of Lot. Haran died before his father Terah, in his native land in Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. Sarai was barren, she had no child. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and brought them out of Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. But when they reached Haran, they settled there. The lifetime of Terah was 205 years. Then Terah died in Haran. Chapter 12. The Lord said to Abram,
"Go forth from the land of your kinsfolk, and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who curse you. All the communities of earth shall find blessing in you."
Abram went as the Lord directed him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai, his brother's son Lot, all the possessions that they had accumulated, and the persons they had acquired in Haran. And they set out for the land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land as far as the sacred place of Shem, by the terebinth of Moreh. The Canaanites were then in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said,
"To your descendants I will give this land."
So Abram built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him, From there he moved on to the hill country east of Bethel, pitching his tent with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. He built an altar there to the Lord and invoked the Lord by name. Then Abram journeyed on, by stages, to the Negeb. There was famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, since the famine in the land was severe. When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife, Sarai, I know well how beautiful a woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, She is his wife. Then they will kill me, but let you live. Please say, therefore, that you are my sister, so that it may go well with me on your account, and my life may be spared for your sake. When Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw how beautiful the woman was, and when Pharaoh's courtiers saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. So she was taken into Pharaoh's palace. On her account it went very well with Abram, and he received flocks and herds, male and female slaves, male and female asses, and camels. But the Lord struck Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues because of Abram's wife Sarai. Then Pharaoh summoned Abram and said to him, How could you do this to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say, She is my sister, so that I took her for my wife? Here then is your wife. Take her and be gone. Then Pharaoh gave men orders concerning him, and they sent him on his way, with his wife and all that belonged to him. Chapter 13. From Egypt, Abram went up to the Negeb with his wife and all that belonged to him, and Lot accompanied him. Now Abram was very rich in livestock, silver and gold. From the Negeb he traveled by stages toward Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had formerly stood, the site where he had first built the altar, and there he invoked the Lord by name. Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, so that the land could not support them if they stayed together. Their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. There were quarrels between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and those of Lot's. At this time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites were occupying the land. So Abram said to Lot, Let there be no strife between you and me, or between your herdsmen and mine, for we are kinsmen. Is not the whole land at your disposal? Please separate from me. If you prefer the left, I will go to the right. If you prefer the right, I will go to the left. Lot looked about and saw how well watered the whole Jordan plain was as far as Zoar, like the Lord's own garden, or like Egypt. Lot therefore chose for himself the whole Jordan plain and set out eastward. Thus they separated from each other. Abram stayed in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled among the cities of the plain, pitching his tents near Sodom. Now the inhabitants of Sodom were very wicked in the sins they committed against the Lord. After Lot had left, the Lord said to Abram,
Look about you, and from where you are, gaze to the north and south, east and west. All the land that you see, I will give to you and your descendants forever. I will make your descendants like the dust of the earth. If anyone could count the dust of the earth, your descendants too might be counted. Set forth and walk about in the land, through its length and breadth, for to you I will give it.
Abram moved his tents and went on to settle near the terebinth of Mamre, which is at Hebron. There he built an altar to the Lord. Chapter 14. In the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim, made war on Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela. All the later kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim. For 12 years they had been subject to Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings aligned with him came and defeated the Rephim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Sheva Kirathaim, and the Horites in the hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran, close by the wilderness. They then turned back and came to En-Mishpat, and they subdued the whole country, both of the Amalekites and of the Amorites who dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. Thereupon the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela marched out, and in the valley of Siddim they went into battle against them, against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of bitumen pits, and as the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, they fell into these, while the rest fled to the mountains. The victors seized all the possessions and food supplies of Sodom and Gomorrah, and then went their way, taking with them Abram's nephew Lot, who had been living in Sodom, as well as his possessions. A fugitive came and brought the news to Abram the Hebrew, who was camping at the terebinth of Mamre the Amorite, a kinsman of Eshol and Aner. These were in league with Abram. When Abram heard that his nephew had been captured, he mustered 318 of his retainers, born in his house, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. He and his party deployed against them at night, defeated them, and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. He recovered all the possessions besides bringing back his kinsman Lot and his possessions, along with the women and the other captives. When Abram returned from his victory over Chedorlaomer and the kings who were allied with him, the king of Sodom went out to greet him in the valley of Shaveh. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine, and being a priest of God Most High, he blessed Abram with these words: "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who delivered your foes into your hand." Then Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people, the goods you may keep." But Abram replied to the king of Sodom, "I have sworn to the Lord God Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, that I would not take so much as a thread or a sandal strap from anything that is yours, lest you should say, 'I made Abram rich.' Nothing for me except what my servants have used up, and the share that is due to the men who joined me, Aner, Eshol, and Mamre. Let them take their share." Chapter 15. Some time after these events, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision.
"Fear not, Abram, I am your shield. I will make your reward very great."
But Abram said, "O Lord God, what good will your gifts be if I keep on being childless, and have as my heir the steward of my house, Eliezer?" Abram continued, "See, you have given me no offspring, and so one of my servants will be my heir." Then the word of the Lord came to him.
"No, that one shall not be your heir. Your own issue shall be your heir."
He took him outside and said,
"Look up at the sky and count the stars, if you can. Just so,"
he added,
"shall your descendants be."
Abram put his faith in the Lord, who credited it to him as an act of righteousness. He then said to him,
"I am the Lord who brought you from Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land as a possession."
"O Lord God," he asked, "how am I to know that I shall possess it?" He answered him,
"Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old she-goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon."
He brought him all these, split them in 2, and placed each half opposite the other, but the birds he did not cut up. Birds of prey swooped down on the carcasses, but Abram stayed with them. As the sun was about to set, a trance fell upon Abram, and a deep, terrifying darkness enveloped him. Then the Lord said to Abram,
"Know for certain that your descendants shall be aliens in a land not their own, where they shall be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on the nation they must serve, and in the end they will depart with great wealth. You, however, shall join your forefathers in peace. You shall be buried at a contented old age. In the 4th time span, the others shall come back here. The wickedness of the Amorites will not have reached its full measure until then."
When the sun had set and it was dark, there appeared a smoking brazier and a flaming torch which passed between those pieces. It was on that occasion that the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying,
To your descendants I give this land, from the Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites.